Greetings, Elder Blacklight. Now, I done showed you some call them loopholes. In law, a loophole is something you could call somebody on if they don't dot their I's and they cross their T's. Let me be more specific. I showed you where the Caucasian government, the Constitution, has been compromised. I showed you where it was a whole lot of corruption in the government. By the Federal Reserve having a clandestine meeting on Jekyll's Island with certain congressmen. I'm not going to bother to call them out, say who it is, you know, that's for y'all to look up. Look up Jekyll's Island, or either the creature from Jekyll's Island on YouTube. Look that up. Now, I done showed you where that a Federal Reserve note is a debt note. So look up the Federal Reserve and see what kind of banking system they are. You know. Now, all these cats running around here talking about I want to be a king and king this and king that. The bankers could buy kings off. Yeah, if the king wanna do something and he done ran out of money, if he want to finance a war, if he want to go to outer space or whatever he want to do, and he don't have the money, he go to somebody who got the money. And in certain instances, it was the Rothschilds who had the paper. And the king, you know, would borrow money from the Rothschilds, and the Rothschilds would own his country, because his country was collateral till he paid him back. That's what the United States did. When they became a corporation, they went to the Federal Reserve, which in Federal Reserve, when it was first formed, agents of the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, Carnegie and all of them, they sent their agents and negotiators to Congress on Jekyll's Island. And Jekyll's Island, they made a Federal Reserve Act. In 1913, they passed the Federal Reserve Act. And I read to you where they confiscated all the gold. You know, you got to go back into my videos to see that. Another thing, you know, that you can call them on is the Dred Scott went to the Supreme Court trying to be an American citizen. They say no black man could ever be a citizen. So they try to say it was just around Missouri, the Supreme Court in Missouri, it only applies around there. But regardless of that, they didn't never rescinded or amended. You know. So I'm showing you where you got a lot of ammunition to fight back with. But you don't hear nobody talking about it. You don't hear no lawyers talking about it. You don't hear the House of Consciousness talking about it. You don't hear Pharaoh talking about it. You don't hear young Pharaoh talking about it. You don't hear nobody talking about that right there. They too busy arguing about, you know, hypothetics, theoretics, you know, because none of them back. But we are nowadays. So what can we call them on nowadays and argue with them nowadays about? Well, it's several things you could argue, get them on. You know, why they sending your tax dollars over to Israel and they fixing up the roads and the infrastructure here in America or in the United States. So I went to the House of Consciousness and showed you where what the young brothers is talking about today is irrelevant. You know, because it's a brother, he came out a long time ago with a book called The Miseducation of the Negro. And he was showing us where we were miseducated. And that tells it all right there. We don't have the whole truth because they don't want to give us the whole truth. Remember, they wouldn't allow us to read, write, or whatever for 200 or 300 years maybe. Held us back for 400 years. And while they studied progressing in education and science and whatever, we just learning how to read and write. In the 1800s, 1900s, 20th century, a lot of us didn't know how to read and write. They wouldn't allow us to go to their school, and then our teachers were poorly educated. Don't none of this matter to nobody. All these black psychologists. All it is they held us back for 400 years and made us become like them, savage. So nowadays when a young brother, a young sister, they don't want to talk about black power. They want to talk about green power. Well, you tell them, you try to tell them the science of where that money don't benefit you none. Just because you can go out and buy a car, buy a house, it'll never be yours. All the houses are nationalized. All the land is nationalized. Not because the authority for them to do it is justified. It's because they got the artillery, they got the guns and the army. They got the big army. And then they canceled out the Constitution because the Constitution don't allow them to have an army bigger than the militia or the citizens. See, the citizens are supposed to have, for their neighborhood, supposed to have a militia, supposed to patrol themselves like a neighborhood watch. And they had that for a minute. The Texas Rangers, and they formed the Texas Rangers. They had one sheriff to handle a whole town. But the sheriff, when he wanted to get a posse up, he would deputize the town, the citizens. Those who weren't afraid to ride. You know, the community was the government. You see? That's why they had elections. So now you going out voting and stuff, and you don't know the science of the whole thing. And all I'm doing is breaking down the science, and then also I'm telling you what you need to do to fight with. I'm giving you what to do to fight with. If you don't stop wanting to feel good so much all the time, you know, that's why half of y'all getting high. Y'all be stressed out. You know, you need something to tranquilize you. You need a sedation, or a stimulant. You need a stimulant to geek you up, so you get high. You be or you get drunk, or you do this and that and the other, because half of y'all in pain all the time. So you got to know who you are. You don't need to get stressed out. You don't need to get high. You just got to listen to your inner self. Listen to who you are, and recognize truth when you hear it. A lot of you don't know how to recognize truth. You don't want to recognize truth because you done got used to the condition that you in, and you feel comfortable wallowing in the mud. This is what makes you like a pig. You know, a pig, a swine, you know, they feel comfortable wallowing in the mud. You know, that's their thing. But we didn't got like that. The black man and black woman done got that, like that. So, this is Black Light. Stay tuned.